thing. You are the Avatar.
I'm the Avatar, and this is just the beginning.
Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Which is why we have to kill them all.
There is only one way to resolve this. Agni Kai.
Compassion? Compassion is a sign of weakness.
If you ask anyone here, they'll tell you he may be a prince, but he's not our prince.
It was quiet, and then my mom died.
Look at the power you have. That's because of me.
That wasn't you. That was me.
It would have been wise to have focused on your training during your journey.
Nice job, Avatar. I have a feeling you've been hurt more than enough.
Tonight, we will celebrate! We will praise the glory of the Fire Nation!
Yeah.
Hello and
welcome to the From the Spirit World podcast, a legendary Avatar, The Last Airbender, and the Legend of Korra podcast for OverlyAnimated.com. We are podcasting episode by episode on the new Netflix live-action Avatar series with some of the biggest Avatar fans you know, the From the Spirit World crew. New podcast out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as we go through the season. That was the new quotelage just debuted on this episode with some of our favorite quotes from the show so far.
How could you not include "he ran"?
It's because Netflix.
Someone said, okay, maybe I'll do that for the updated one. Okay.
No, it's because Netflix is doing it, so it's not funny anymore.
Yeah, they did notice that.
Okay.
Fair.
I assume that's me. I assume they listen to the podcast and they've really picked up on our focus on it.
I would assume so.
So I'll be making one update for the finale. I know that already, so we'll see next podcast. But how did we do? All of our other favorites there.
Pretty much.
You had to end with celebrate. There's no other way to do it.
It's true.
That we're celebrating tonight. That's what we're doing here.
That's what we're doing here.
Okay,
Debatable.
I am your host, Dylan, and today I'm joined by quite the full house, starting with Delaney.
Hey, y'all.
Mel.
Hello.
Sam.
Yo.
Allie.
Everywhere you look.
And Jeff.
Hey.
Yes, talking this podcast, we were talking about The North, episode 7 of season 1 of the recently renewed Netflix's Avatar, The Last Airbender. Get back to that in a second.
Oh, it's been renewed.
Get back to that in a second.
Literally yesterday, they were like, all of them.
Wait, Sam, you didn't know?
No.
Nobody
tells me these things.
What
am I supposed to do? Look at the news?
Look at the first bullet point of the outline, and then you...
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't do
Think
that.
Sam read that?
No, that would be out
I
of
just
character.
skipped straight to the topics at hand.
Yes.
It says
So
it's
more
literally
relevant.
the first thing under the topics.
Yeah, but it's in a weird place. It's above the... Anyway, search
Sam
for
Garrett
From the
reads it.
Spirit World or
Okay.
Overly Animated anywhere to subscribe to either feed or a dedicated Avatar Netflix feed. To get all of these podcasts, leave us a 5-star review on any feed you listen to, please. We have watched only up to the episode we're covering. I actually did watch the finale, full disclosure, because the recording schedule. Some of us have not seen the finale, though, so will be spoilers only up to this episode. We won't be spoiling the finale. Please no spoilers in the comments, and we will be in full spoiler territory for the original Avatar and also Korra throughout this podcast series. In case you're listening to this the day it comes out, you can send us your questions and comments for the finale before Friday afternoon. Otherwise, you can still send us podcast at overlyanimated.com your thoughts on the whole season for a potential upcoming season-long review. We'll see, and then also kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on any future Avatar content as well. More on that in the finale podcast. So let's first talk about that this show was yesterday just renewed for seasons 2 and 3. Both.
Oh my god, we're gonna finish something.
God. They will finish the show, the live action adaptation, and
But how long will it take for them to finish it?
Right.
Well, my argument is, what if there's more? What if they're not going to do book 2 and 3? What if it's like these 2 seasons are just book 2? Ooh, what a twist.
Yeah, in the press release, at least they framed it as that this will let them finish the story, the original show's story. They also said that they will be filming seasons 2 and 3 in quick succession. So it seems like we'll have a time gap between seasons 1 and 2, and then maybe less so between 2 and 3. There's a lot to potentially speculate about here in the future for a future podcast, but headlines we will see Toph, right? Live action Toph for the first time.
I'm nervous.
How many episodes each season has?
The not confirmed yet. Not confirmed.
Do we think it'll be the same order as this one?
I think safe to assume 8-ish. Maybe they'll be ambitious and go for 10 or something each season. I don't know. But it's interesting because as we've been talking about, they've already adapted a lot of the beginning of season 2. So they can kind of start skipping to closer to Bossing Sight. But we can talk about all that later. Let's start to get into episode 7, The North.
Remembers.
The North remembers, I guess. Mel, what did you think of this episode?
I mean, I feel like it was like the classic setup episode. So it's a little underwhelming because it's kind of the necessary bridge between the season and then its finale, which I feel like we kind of had towards the end of season 1 of the original show as well. But yeah, overall, just it was to use Sam's way of looking at this. It was an episode.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sam, do you agree that it was an episode?
It really was an episode. Would you like me to get into my thoughts now,
yes.
or would you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't find it very, very remarkable, truthfully. As Mel said, it was definitely the setup episode, and of course, it's going to have all the elements that we expect being in the Northern Water Tribe.
Water, primarily.
Water, ice, Pakku, Sokka and Yue doing what they do, which, I mean, if I didn't like the Sokka and Suki stuff, I didn't like the Sokka and Yue stuff. And it was pretty heavy in this episode. It took up a lot of runtime, and I just didn't really care that much about that at all. I didn't really like how they handled like the Katara and Pakku stuff, but we can get into that later. And as always, Zhao is the best.
What? How the turntables have, etc. Like, Sam now is Zhao Stan. I mean, I don't remember if you were back in the day. Who knows?
I mean, I didn't talk that much back in the day, so who knows? And I wasn't on that early, and I didn't really care.
I don't think the podcast existed that early.
Yeah, Zhao is season 1. That's true. I think we did some look back, season 1 look backs during the run. But anyway, look, more positive reviews from Zhao. I love it. Delaney, what did you think of The North?
I do agree it was an episode, and it was a setup episode. I wasn't really thinking that about it until y'all mentioned it, but I did enjoy it. It had what I wanted, which was Katara fighting Pakku, and I was like, yay, sexism, which is a weird opinion to have. Same. But that's how I felt. I do have to agree with Sam that the Sokka and Yue were like, it wasn't doing it for me. Her wig is something. It's something. Also, Master Pakku, so Sam...
His wig was something, too.
Yeah, and so Sam mentioned in previous podcasts that everyone's hair looks really glued on, and it's just really bad with Pakku. Like, his bald cap and his hair, and it's just real bad. I got Kuruk. I didn't like him, but, I can't complain because that's what I asked for, so I guess thank you.
You can complain, and you should complain.
I don't know if you're supposed to like him too much,
Well, I liked him, but I don't know enough about him, I guess.
It's not like... I guess I shouldn't... this isn't an assassination of his character. I didn't like what they were doing with him. I think we kind of talked about this in the previous podcast about them being, a little heavy-handed. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's not. I do think Kuruk was a bit on that. I don't think it was so necessary for him to be like this. I'm happy we saw him, though, because I was complaining because he wasn't in episode 5. And,
yes.
So then that made me mad. But, so they fixed that. So, cool. I think Dylan said we're allowed to say this, but they just made Han a cuck, so that's cool.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know if I said that this podcast series. Probably referencing something a long time ago.
You were letting us say Ladybug, so this is your fault.
Okay.
Not a bad word, just it's an interesting take.
It is. I didn't think about it like that, but it's interesting.
Me neither.
And also, Aang has not waterbended a single droplet of water, and the best part is that made my wife mad. So this whole time my wife is like, hello, where is it? And then she also Zhao is doing such a good job. She hates him, and she hates him so much she's starting to hate the actor. That's how good villain Zhao is.
That is good. I like that. Okay, there you go. Allie, what did you think of the North?
I thought it was okay. I mean, pretty much echoing what everyone else has said already. The big things for me were Pakku's misogyny. It's here, and we will be talking about, I don't know how to feel about it, especially because they took away Sokka's misogyny, because their argument
I have thoughts about that.
Well, that's the thing. We'll get into it, but their whole argument, I thought, was it's too outdated and it doesn't fit, but then they keep the misogyny in there.
They're like, we're going to save the misogyny for the big misogyny.
So, what was the point? You really just took away his character arc and left the sexism. So, what were you thinking? I don't know if I was really feeling Sokka and Yue. I think mostly because her wig was taking me out of it. And,
it's real bad.
We'll also get into it. I don't know how to feel about how she was the fox and how Sokka is the boy of her dreams or whatever. But I do appreciate that we forego the typical love triangle route and made Han, I suppose, a cuck, but I didn't see him that way. I thought he was a really cool dude.
He's just there too.
Yeah, he has a crush on this girl, but he respects her boundaries and respects her feelings, which I really appreciated. Sad that... Wait, that's next episode. Hold on.
Love Han. Han's really cool.
Kuruk. I don't like what they're doing with it. It doesn't feel like Kuruk to me from both the show and the games and the novels that.
But Allie, didn't they incorporate his backstory from the books?
Vaguely, yes, and it's nice, but I did not like the actor. I don't think he was the right choice. I don't like how he delivered all of his lines. It was
It's interesting because we haven't really seen Kuruk in a large form. This might be the most Kuruk we've ever seen.
This is the most we've seen him in any form of media from Avatar. And I don't think he was done well. But yeah, I mean, this was okay. It was an alright episode.
At least he had his wolf cape.
I have a lot of thoughts on Yue that we'll get to, I'm sure.
Okay, interesting. We'll talk about Yue. But Jeff, what did you think of the North?
It was all right. That's I have not I have not yet been a fan of Zhao until this episode, and then
everyone loves Zhao.
Yes, he's great. His campiness has got to the level of all right. I like it.
Yes,
and especially when you when you have the whole celebrate right from last episode. Compared with the way the Chief of the North announces his feast, a lot less energy in that. The dialogue, there were certain parts I wasn't a fan of. I really don't like what they're doing with Azula and May and Ty Lee.
I agree.
Azula's he needs to know that I'm the one. What? It just feels like that entire arc could have just been replaced with more character development, and we could have just gone with what the show originally did, which was just introduce her in book 2. Yeah, that's my overall thoughts.
Okay, well, interesting as this series has gone on. I feel like I started off the most negative, and second episode in a row, I'm going to be the most positive here. I think this is an actively good episode of television.
Wow.
I am more convinced than basically any previous episode, and I think this might be the best episode of the show, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Partly that is maybe due to the fact that I think this is the most straightforward adaptation of an episode we've gotten, The Waterbending Master. It's very similar to The Waterbending Master, which is a great episode. So they kind of just did the same thing, and I think it worked.
We should have done that for every good episode.
The thing I agree with Jeff. There's some stinted dialogue, as is the whole series. That's to me the most negative thing about this episode. But I think everything else worked. I mean, here's the big thing. This is by far the best Katara episode of the show.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Huge. I mean, mostly they just let her do something for once, but
they let her do one thing.
And honestly, maybe I'm just so positive on this because I was so happy they kept the misogyny.
It's a really weird feeling.
I'm
happy they kept it, but
misogyny in the context of the show.
Don't quote on this.
When you're done, I understand logistically why it makes sense.
Yeah, we'll dive into it more, but in general, it's the same as in the animated show with Katara. They even start to expand it a little potentially. We have the same Katara Pakku fight Which
that was like 1-for-1 shot.
Well, I actually went back and watched the original fight because I just wanted to check on some things. It is at times 1-for-1, like the exact same dialogue except for one line. But honestly, the action I kind of thought was improved in this.
I agree.
Which shocking, they did something better actually then, because that's not like a sacred fight in my eyes, the Katara Pakku, and they kind of expanded on it and maybe even did it better.
I'm kind of enjoying the ice discs. They're like making it her thing now.
Yeah, which she actually did. I forgot she did in the original fight. She did do ice discs,
and she also in this series did it an episode before.
So they expanded it from here and then made it a thing before, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I do agree Azula stuff continues to be pointless, but we'll talk about it. But UA, it was fine. It was fine. I don't know. It's fine. And they had Iroh with Zuko says there's actually like the first funny line of the show in my opinion, which I think it might have been taken from a different episode. I don't remember, but is so no plan then or whatever.
Yes. It was good.
Yeah,
that's not in the original.
That wasn't in this episode, but it feels like something that was in an episode. I don't remember.
It was not.
You're so confident is in no episode.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't either.
Okay.
Are you talking about the animated series?
Yes. Yes.
It was not.
Okay. Well, I thought that was the first time this show was actually funny.
Dylan, I feel like you should know whether or not that line was in the original.
Considering
you wrote all of this trivia back in the day.
Like, how little you remember about the cartoon.
Allie was the trivia champion. I didn't.
But you still made the questions. I'm still concerned at how little you remember from the original.
Okay. This is not the thing to be grilling me on this. I'm not going to catalog 61
Stop being
episodes.
A normie.
Okay, well, we'll talk about normies later. But if it wasn't in any episode of Avatar, I'm not going to
know
off the top of my head.
I don't know where you're getting that from.
I'm not an Ally. I don't know that often, but that's why you're
okay.
Here. So thank you and Jeff too. Thank you for answering this.
Jeff is an Ally confirmed.
No one said. I wouldn't want to put that on him. No one said that they say ass in this episode.
Yeah, Sokka says kick his ass.
I think
I did not even
twice.
That.
Or kick his ass.
I thought that was inappropriate.
Wow.
I did not even
They said damn earlier at some point.
Oh, okay.
It's TVPG, Dylan. They can say ass.
Sokka said ass in the way it was. The episode treated it like an F-bomb. Like it was like.
Did.
Oh, it might swallow.
This was like a huge.
It was like in the movie theater. It's like now you're supposed to cheer.
Yeah. No. That's exactly. That's what it was. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we can dive more into, and also just visually, I thought it was great. I love Agnakella's the visuals of everything. I thought it was all great. So I don't know. I guess maybe it was just the least offensive episode to me. Maybe that's why I liked it the most. There's nothing I'm upset about, but we can go over everything. So, and any thoughts on Agnakella, which they did not originate this name. I believe it was first in those books that we keep mentioning, but seems to be a unified change to name the Northern Water Tribe capital of that across all Avatar media.
Mm-hmm.
Is there does it mean is there a root word common with Agni Kai?
I mean, I assume it would mean something. I don't think it would be based on Agni Kai.
I don't think it is either, but it probably does have a meaning.
Yeah. Let's go on the Avatar wiki.
Yeah, I was looking for more information on the Avatar wiki on the name, and I did not find. So
yeah, they usually have it under the trivia at the bottom, but I'm not seeing anything.
Shout out the Avatar wiki.
I guess on your trivia.
They can't.
There wasn't the Avatar wiki got like 300 million thousand bajillion hits because the show exists.
Yeah. But it's most of them are me reference. Yeah, it's me fact checking stuff.
It's funny to me that they've got like Agna Kelly, Wolf Cove, and then they're like, take him back to Capital City.
Yes. They couldn't give it a name.
Most egregious.
In capitals.
Just take some Japanese characters and flip them around and mess with them.
Any thoughts on how Agnakella looked?
Beautiful.
Yeah, I thought the visuals are pretty nice.
It was good.
My wife immediately was like, wow, it's really nice up here. And they got the Southern Water Tribe in huts. And I was like, yep.
Pretty sad. The wall, I think, was pretty good.
Oh my God, the White Walker wall.
Yep.
I liked how you could show them like building their fortifications in the water.
Yes, yeah. I like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I like how they're like, here's our ice wall. Like, I needed you to tell me that.
I guess the biggest thing that was different was the sanctum. Because I feel like it's just like one tree. And in the animated show, and they kind of expanded it a lot.
Yeah, it's like a forest.
But they didn't have like one tree. Like I was like, okay, you can have more
It was
trees, but
like
where's the
in the-
one tree?
In the animated series, it was like a bush behind them, and then it was just the waterfall. And in this, it felt like it was actually going into nature or into the spirit
Which is
world. I thought
nice,
they
yeah.
improved
still
on
have
it,
They
honestly.
still have the little ponds. That's the important part.
That's also
Little-
in the books.
The it's also in the books. The Sanctum?
You read to find out.
You're talking about the Sanctum? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then they added the Kuruk stuff, so we'll talk about that. But we have the chief, who cares, Arnuk. We have Pakku.
Grandpaku.
Pakku, I thought he was more
Not a
serious.
thing in this, apparently.
And,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I
so
don't know how to feel about that either.
they didn't put in the marriage to grand stuff, betrothal necklace, none of that.
Man, that was the best.
Yeah,
I liked that twist.
What I don't understand about the entrance is like it seemed like Haru greeted them from the ground while they were in the sky, and somehow they heard that, but also that they knew they were coming at all.
Oh, yeah, because
Yeah, I
they
was
say
confused.
we've been
They say we
expecting
expected
you.
you, yeah.
How
Right.
did you? Why?
Well, they said they had scouts for the Fire Nation ship, so maybe the scouts also saw them, or maybe they just received reports that the Avatar, because I do think the show has presented them as not being particularly conspicuous. Like that, everyone
Also,
was like, "Oh,
they
we've seen the
literally-
Avatar."
They also keep telling people, yeah, I have to get to the North Pole.
Yeah, so I think they probably just heard it through
That's-
word of
Who are
mouth.
they telling they need to get to the North Pole? Wasn't that just established a couple episodes ago?
It was from
No, I
episode
feel like they
2.
keep going. I think
No,
they
it was
keep
Kyoshi was the
Yeah.
one who was like, you gotta,
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay, but it is interesting that they changed some kind of small things. And by the way, we go from the Blue Spirit and more relevantly the Winter Solstice, and it's like, oh, we're at the North now. If you going by the animated show, you definitely skips a lot of territory.
The
Well, they
world
put a
is
lot of
tiny.
that back end stuff in the beginning in Omashu. With,
Mhm.
like,
they move stuff up, but like location wise,
oh yeah,
they
well,
covered a lot of ground. I guess
Geography is not important.
It's not. It's really not that important. I will say I'm surprised they haven't shown maps like as more of a part of.
That's
the
what's
show.
been getting me. Like, this is part of
This-
why I'm
this-
like,
the-
why didn't
if
we?
The
why don't we
Avatar
have
world
a-
has a very important, like, prominent map, and you would think
This-
Game of Thrones style, you would show the map, like.
But no.
It's not a travel show anymore, though.
So, which is true, yeah. So that's
So why would you need a map? Why would you need to know where you are, really?
I would have liked to say like in that like brushstroke title card, like just show a map and like put a point on
Yeah,
the
that
map.
would
Like
be
this episode
that would
is
be
here,
cool.
but
Or like you
that
start with
would-
the map and then zoom in onto where they are.
yeah, that would be cool. But that would kind of expose what I'm saying of like they really just traveled half the globe between 6 and 7. So maybe they didn't want to get into that.
They're doing it on purpose.
I guess, yeah. Okay, but yeah, so Pakku, yeah, I went back and I watched like part of Waterbending Master. Pakku's definitely a lot like more sassy and kind of, I don't know about humorous is like the way, I don't know if he's funny, but he's like trying to be funny and stuff. He's a lot more serious here, and they kind of take a lot of his personality or make him more subdued, I think. But I don't know if anyone is going to particularly have any comments on Pakku's personality.
I didn't care.
So
I'm just
let's talk about the misogyny being back in Avatar.
Wow.
So here's my thing.
Yes.
Is I think, again, I thought about it a lot because it was surprising. I was fully like, are they gonna do that, or are they just gonna take that whole plot line
Right, you
away
expect
from
them
the
not
North?
to do it, considering they took the Sokka stuff away.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Sokka stuff going away, if you want to talk about like logistics of the world building, it makes sense because in the Southern Water Tribe, where there's like no resources and no people, like you're not going to have time for like misogyny and sexism. It's like, okay, you able-bodied adult, can you pick up this tool and go do this? And we need everybody who can do things. In the Northern Water Tribe, they're not as like struggling. They have the sort of like comfort to have this like stratified society where they can say like, oh yeah, like women go do healing arts. Now I will say like the thing that complicates this is their like visions where Katara's doing like beadwork or whatever while Sokka's like learning to be a warrior.
Yeah, I was going to say the one caveat to that would be the episode 5 flashback. Yeah. The one kind of interesting thing among those flashbacks was it did show like a very traditional division of gendered labor in the South.
So take all of it like with a grain of salt. But I was at least in that regard I was like, okay, well this is internally consistent, at least that the like more industrial, built up, more comfortable like culture is going to have room to decide to develop hierarchies and stuff. But yeah, I don't it feels like because of all that, it came out of nowhere now. Like, all of a sudden in the show, like, oh, we found the one group of people in the entire world who believe in sexism.
But then it doesn't even seem like it's the whole tribe, because even the young guys, I don't think are
I did like the one Katara's new like acolyte, like he says Master Katara.
Yeah, it was cute.
At least the old guard. I mean, I agree certainly with Mel that it feels random, with the one caveat being they maybe tried to seed it through that one flashback. They could have surely done a better job, but there was some precedence. So is it, Mel, is one of your overall points that you thought it came out of nowhere too much, so it wasn't good?
I feel like because they presented it pretty much beat for beat the way it's presented in the original show, it felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, I feel like there's a version of this you can do that's not so blunt and like smacking you over the head with it. That is reflective of a world you've created where this isn't so pronounced and clearly not as ubiquitous as it was in the original show. So I just think the mistake there was just portraying it just exactly how it appeared in the show. Just all of a sudden.
The Avatar, the animated show, I think we underappreciate by showing the Sokka stuff early on. It really portrays the like 1800s culture that is this world during this show. Like they really seed in the kind of attitudes of the world. And when you take that away, I mean, I guess not, but when you take that away, like people are talking about, we're ruining Sokka's arc. Well, it's a good point by Mel. You're also kind of just not setting up the whole world, the universe. The universe. It's a key element of world building that's not there. And it's kind of told through Sokka, and so yeah, they want this version of Sokka to be more likable. I don't know. I would wonder what exactly they would say.
Also,
take it away.
They also have this moment where, he's like, go kick his ass. Well, it would have played better if they had the original, and then that would have been another big moment for Sokka. Now, it does still play well in that
it's like a nice sibling moment.
Well, we've had them fight, and so now, and he, before they've had this conversation, and he's like, you're wrong, you need to grow up. Mm-hmm. But, so it still plays like, okay, but it could have been better. It would have been
so much better.
I will say,
it's a different context.
Like, I was like, when she's in the hut and then she's like, oh, women don't fight. I was like, they're doing it. It's happening.
Right. So another thing is they kind of hide Pakku's. I didn't watch this part of Waterbending Master, but they hide it at first. Yeah. I don't remember if the animated show did that. But Katara,
she doesn't ask about it also.
Katara walks in and then it's like mic drop. Like, you didn't know that she was being discriminated against at that point. So they kind of treat it like it's supposed to be a surprise. So I guess, look, it was a surprise. Now, was it a good surprise? I don't know. Now, here's the thing. Okay, sure. It wasn't seeded well throughout the world. I agree with that. In the context of this specific episode, and yes, they do mostly just do the exact same thing that the Waterbending Master does. But this is so good for Katara as a character. I feel like this breathed life into such a very dull portrayal of Katara previously.
Yeah. Also, I think the only way to, like, alternatively do this without, like, rewriting it entirely would be to make it a class conflict.
We don't let Southerners,
like Northern versus South. Yeah, that's the only other thing I can think of.
Now we're going the Korra route with a civil war.
Exactly.
Here's what I'll say. And look, caveat, white person. I think it's an interesting. I think getting into like traditional attitudes in indigenous or other traditional cultures is really interesting, and I think that they somewhat tried to get into that here. I don't know. That's kind of like how I saw. I think they're like, there's a lot of like, why is it this way? It's like, it's just how things are done.
Yeah.
I did like they expanded on it. Like Katara's like we.
Yeah.
Like that was awesome.
You get Yagoda's kind of thoughts on it. This is our way, she says. It wasn't deep at all, but it's a little bit of. I thought it was them trying to touch on like more traditional attitudes within traditional cultures. Yeah, and it's something that in this show with all of these indigenous actors on screen, which by the way, we get to the bigger city, so many just indigenous background actors, side characters, pretty wonderful to see. But it's something that like jumps to mind, just in all of this in context of real world indigenous cultures, considering we are seeing so many actual indigenous people here.
Yeah,
Unfortunate the wigs suck.
The wigs do suck.
I feel like I just bought into them. I don't notice it. I mean, Yue's is like very
Hers is
noticeable.
especially.
Yeah, Yue's was
jarringly
hard to. I mean, I
bad.
also thought Pakku's situation wasn't that great either.
Pakku's situation, honestly, I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
was
I think
I feel like it
That was
was
also my fault.
obvious to me that he had a sort of bald cap wig on.
yes, it was.
They were trying to do his hair from the
it was
original.
real atrocious.
I will say, go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, Dylan. I wanted to jump in and say something
Yes.
about the
Yes.
Pakku misogyny kerfuffle. In what Mel was saying, sort of doing it pretty much beat for beat as the show does it, or as close as you can get, with how Pakku treats Katara. I don't know. It feels like it loses a lot of its bite in comparison to the original show. And as like Mel said, it does come out of nowhere because, you know, in the original show, we have Katara just kind of going through it with Sokka, going through it with, like, you know, the world that she lives in. And it seemed to me like the waterbending master originally was like this culmination of all of this hardship and misogyny she had to deal with from, like, you know, just living in the world and like having her brother and her culture and whatnot. And you just don't really get that sense with this, really, because it does just kind of pop up like, oh, silly Katara, we don't let girls fight here.
Like,
Which-
it plays differently when it's like the first
Yeah.
time you're encountering this versus like something like you said, you know, struggling her whole life with.
Yeah, exactly. And not to say that, like, you know, I don't know this character. Is she like the most fleshed out girl in the entire world? Probably not on paper, but if she were a real person, then fine, whatever. Anyway, I also didn't really like how it had to be Yagoda who had to break the news. Like, oh, sorry, Katara, we only do healing. Also, P.S. healing is totally valid, just so you know. Which, like, yes, it is. It's awesome. It's a great skill. And it's a proud tradition. That's great. But that's just, like, I don't know. It really just takes the bite out of the original for me. Or, like, not the original, but, like,
It doesn't hit the same.
it doesn't hit the same. It really hits very softly. It hits like, you know, oh, Pakku might just have like a lost lady love who he couldn't protect or something. You know, it hits like that. Rather than being like a systemic problem, it hits like a personal problem.
Right, because the kids who are like, oh,
Yeah.
sick, like Katara, and then like later or before that or whenever, when Han's like, oh yeah, it's her, you know, it's her prerogative to break off the engagement, and where it's like, okay, like
women
it's
do have a
yeah,
say
it sounds
in
like a
things.
culture that wouldn't let women, you know, learn combat, would also not allow them to, you know, get out of arranged marriages. But
Yeah,
Mhm, yeah.
it doesn't really add up when you think
Also,
about
because it comes out of nowhere, it's like Katara doesn't really get to spend a lot of time like dealing with it. She's like, all right, I'm gonna fight you, which is still a great reaction. I agree with this reaction.
Yeah,
But, like,
exactly.
it's different, you know,
like,
versus
This is like so. I feel like it's not related, but it was to me watching this as like a mostly girl. Well, when I was watching this, I identified as female growing up, and like with the Kyoshi warriors too. Like even Zuko was like, these little girls can't save you. So like hearing that sort of thing in the universe over and over with Katara as well made it hit really hard when she got to the North Pole, and then did prove Pakku wrong. And here, like everyone's saying, it doesn't have as much of an effect. And I feel like part of that is, we've said it already, but because of Sokka's arc, that's missing here. So it would have hit harder if that was included, and also if they did it like if they showed the North properly, not letting girls have like rights at all. But
I
they
think
do.
I think these are all good points. I don't remember exactly in the animated show what other rights we did or did. We probably didn't get into it too much. So just some additional context, like I was saying in the talk with Yagoda, she does say women are not allowed to fight. That is our way. When Katara's talking to Pakku, Pakku says women are not allowed in combat. It's how things are done. Women aren't strong enough. And then Katara afterwards says they've hid behind this wall. They've become frozen in time.
That's pretty funny.
Which I think that the criticism's obviously valid, what you guys are saying. I think the episode is making an attempt to put it just beyond Pakku.
Yeah, geez, Pakku, it's 2024. Didn't you know?
Get it together.
Yeah, it's 1824 again.
Hashtag me too.
I mean, it's even too progressive for 1824. I'm sorry to say. Like, I don't know.
They're allowing Katara to speak at all. I mean,
she's wearing pants.
My God,
is she wearing pants?
Yes.
Yeah, she got pants on.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Jeff, what did you say?
I thought it was interesting his line, like, "I will not let what happened in the South happen here."
Yeah, which talking about seemingly associating the fact that women can fight with the fact that they got defeated
or invaded in the first place.
Or invaded, which interesting concept for him to be putting out there. I do think a lot of these lines I think are really interesting. They just don't get into a lot of depth here. It's like they kind of put forth a lot of interesting framing for what's happening, but because they don't get into it, I think all of what you guys are saying is valid, and obviously the context is what it is too, which is
I think
that they just got to it now.
This is also a problem like we've kind of talked about with the Fire Nation. Like you kind of talked about it, like, why do y'all want to do this? Why do you think you're so special? Why? Like, so we kind of have, I think this kind of makes everything lose its bite. Like, honestly, the only thing I'm getting from the show, which this happens later, this happens in the finale, something Zuko says to Katara, but like, granted, Zuko's just like that, you know, he says things, and he's said things previously, you know.
Zuko
like,
kind of just does say things.
He just says things, but, because, you know, he's a pouty little whatever. But there's just no weight to anything.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
more of a general this show thing. I will say, since I saw the finale, it's not going to spoil it, but there is one scene in the beginning of next episode that does add on to what the show did within this topic. So the show is doing a little bit more, I think, than I don't think it changes any of what we're saying, but there are more attempts made that we can talk about next podcast. But here's the only thing I want to push back on is just this kind of reverence of the animated show in this regard, just because I feel like, one, we're babies watching this. The stuff is more radical to us, and it leaves more of an impression the first time we see it. Two is like, this episode really is just doing the same thing as the animated episode. Again, lacking the context. Fantastic point. Agree. But within the context of just this episode, it's really just the same thing. And they honestly, this episode even does more with the whole misogyny concepts like we're talking about, although it doesn't get into depth. But
I will say we are talking, this is all very basic stuff, but I will say, as someone who's navigated the world as a woman for 27 years, we still got to be here.
That's what I'm saying. Like, do you think young girls will watch this and feel the same way we did when we watched the cartoon? Because I did not get that vibe at all. Like, it's not. Not that it has to hit super hard. Do you think it's
because of the lack of context, or because they did it differently within this episode?
I think the lack of context, personally.
I mean, I think it's fair. We could see what people's react. I mean, that's someone wrote in about that topic, by the way. I suspect that people will the young girls will have reaction to this.
That's what I'm talking about.
For them.
We still have to do this. That's the sad part.
Mm.
Like we're not even to the point where we can do more more deeper. Like, we can't even get into intersectionality because we have to do this.
It's like it's 18 or whatever years later from the original show, but all of this very basic feminist episode still applies now.
Like, we still have to tell people women make less than men, and people are like, you're lying. And I'm like,
we were just talking about that at work today.
Literally, like, it's just like this still exists. Like, this is where
I don't think we're ever going to have to stop telling people
Nope.
that sort of thing.
Nope. That's correct. That's just what I meant by, like, this is very basic, very elementary. It feels very childish, but we have to do it.
Which is a good point. Since you brought this up, is there an element of all this stuff feels basic now, given that it's 2024? Does it land less hard than 2005 when it was maybe more radical to see on TV?
Not really, when you look at the news of what's happening in the real world.
And then also, like, you know, for me, Toph is still a very meaningful character to me. And Toph is very representative of this.
There's a lot of potential, right, to get into this when we introduce Toph.
Yeah.
Agree.
Also, Katara is like barely a character in this.
It's true.
And
I
this
will
is the
say,
problem.
This also does feel like a really great moment for Katara in this show. Like, because
Yeah, that's why the lack of
she's had
context
nothing.
means everything.
Honestly, that I like think is maybe even more of a big thing with lack of context is just Katara's character. Like, this is by far the most emotion. I mean, I guess with Jet too, but emotion and active. Honestly, the most agency she really gets to show in
That kind of sucks.
It really sucks a lot.
I think
her only agency gets to be, or not her only agency, but like her only roles get to be sister, love interest, or
like this is the most she's done since Jet, which is in relation to a guy too. Yeah,
this show has, for some odd reason, has centered Sokka for no reason.
Yeah, it's really random.
It's really strange.
I will say again, the animated show.
Sokka, you're not allowed to kiss the girl.
We'll come back to Sokka.
So you know.
The animated shows. Katara's stuff in season 1 probably pretty similar when we look back at it.
But it's not existent here. That's the problem.
Like, she is mostly probably in relation to guys in season 1. There's just a lot more of it, so you get a fuller picture. But honestly, the animated show probably
sometimes it's a little worse in the original show because this show we only had Jet. Previous show we have Haru. We have we also have Haru. Like, it gets a little worse.
And you got Bato and stuff, and then there's everything with Aang. So there's a lot of relation to guys, I think, in Avatar season 1.
What about Zuko, guys?
Eventually,
Come on.
No. I don't know about that. But honestly, in the waterbending scroll, there's some later on in Avatar, obviously, Katara gets to do like bloodbending stuff, Southern Raiders stuff. So I think that there's eventually we get to a ton more stuff with Katara.
Season 3, book 3 is really Katara's best character season, IMO.
Yeah,
I think book 1 has a lot of good stuff separate from guys. Like, just thinking about the waterbending scroll, because that's like her episode. No guys are particularly involved. It's just her own insecurity with her bending skills and her flaws.
That's a good point. They cut out. One of the only episodes they cut completely out was.
I've been complaining this whole time that they should have.
Yeah, I keep thinking about it since we've talked about it, and the more I think about it, the more angry I get.
I think this was a big fumble for not adapting the waterbending scroll.
The other, we can briefly get into it now. We can come back to the Katara Pakku fight. But the other element of not adapting the waterbending scroll is the context for the Zuko assassination attempt.
It was so dumb.
The what?
Yeah, I realized. I was like, oh wait, they don't have the pirates, so who are they going to blame?
So in this, the whole context here, which is kind of complicated, and I assume all of this is like, but not all of this is gone in the original show, all of this complicatedness. But one thing I think that for a new viewer watching this episode, do you think Zuko's dead for like 30 minutes watching? Like,
I think. What are we talking about? Why is this? I'm confused.
When they try to blow Zuko up
in the Waterbending Master, they
do blame it on the pirates. I forgot.
No, they do it. They're the one that do it, I believe.
Zhao hires them. Though.
Yeah, Zhao hires them to. It's a very really kind of minor thing, but he like sees the bird and then he knows, and then he puts up this fire shield, which you see for a few frames. Look, Allie, who forgot stuff now? Okay.
Well,
I also pointed that out in the commentary.
In the commentary.
The commentary, Sam.
Yes,
I do. I love watching things with commentary. You get to learn so many things.
The Zuko flame thing, and it's definitely like a fan thing, and you notice if you look. But I rewatched it, and it's like definitely noticeable. And here with Zuko getting blown up, there's no flame shield. Like I feel like watching for the first time, I think people are gonna think he's dead. And this episode goes from like Zuko getting blown up to we've arrived in the Northern Water Tribe. It's so happy.
It does.
It's pretty wild.
In the show, the episode ended with him getting blown up, I think.
I think it was in like the middle of the episode, so you definitely like.
But you didn't find out until like the next. I guess you found out at the very end of that episode that he was.
I went. Yeah, I would. I mean, I didn't rewatch the whole thing, but it's like 5 minutes later. It's like not that bad, and obviously the episode's shorter. It's I don't know. I don't remember what we thought at first, but I just feel like it's more apparent he's alive there. And obviously he's alive here too. I mean, I don't know if anyone's really going to believe it. It's like, this is not a show without too much of a bite on it.
I don't know. They do something in the finale that I was about to get heated about. That's okay.
Well, people get
there's a lot
burned, but people get burnt up in this show.
Crispy.
Yeah, people get crispy. Just to recap the context, this brief aside during the Pakku conversation. So G overheard orders from Ozai that they're gonna or G overheard on Zhao's ship that Ozai was putting out orders to arrest Zuko for treason. They determined he must have figured out you were the one who freed the Avatar last episode. So now we know that Iroh told Zuko that he knows that, and now G knows, I guess. So Zuko flees on the boat. However, then we learn that was a lie. That was bait from Zhao to get Zuko to flee so that he can then blow him up. But
unnecessary.
Which is, it's wild that this
Very
is like the most convoluted thing that the entire season, and it doesn't matter.
I'm telling you, they're really just setting up the Fire Nation to be just a political drama. That's it.
Which, I don't know. I mean, we could talk about that more. But, and then Zuko, we find out he's alive later, and he has the scene with Iroh, the same scene as the animated show where he removes the mask, and then it learns that Iroh's been playing Zhao the whole time, which I guess is the same as the show. But we have this additional layer of duplicity from Zhao with the Ozai order at the top, which, yeah, I do feel like ultimately it is just overcomplicates things in a rare move for this.
I honestly think it overcomplicated things because they didn't have the pirate excuse, so
yes, exactly.
They had to overcomplicate the reason that it happened, so that when Iroh said, in the original show, he said it was those pirates who, and Zhao's like, yeah, it was the pirates. And
no, it was Ozai here.
But in this, he's like, oh, it was Ozai. I feel like it's interesting to me, the cascading butterfly effect of not including the pirates.
I also think it's partly the effect of them trying to expand Ozai so he's more front of mind, so then we can go to Ozai here too. It kind of coalesces with that. And there's cascading effects of including Azula more prominently in her relationship with Zhao, which we'll see about. So, but here, this was it felt very unnecessary. Although I gotta say, I was kind of glued to the screen, at least in the beginning of this episode. Oh, something's happening, like intrigue.
Yes, I like the intrigue. I think we missed a little bit of establishment. Like, when did Zhao find out that Zuko was Blue Spirit? There was a specific scene in the animated show when he saw the dual sword.
Yeah. I feel like so much has happened off screen.
Did he find out that he's the Blue Spirit in this one?
Or did he just kill him?
We will see if there's more context on that. But there was not an explanation here about that for sure. Regardless, he wants to kill him, but it also feels like a big escalation, which I guess it did originally too. But I forgot about this coming into this set of episodes.
Oh, I did too. I was
him exploding.
This is like the Korra book 1 ending.
That's how I felt.
This is like, wow, I forgot Avatar went there early.
And then the real dramatic blasting jelly. Okay, guys.
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, blasting jelly, such a big thing.
So much of the serious dialogue that's supposed to be presented as serious is just it's comical.
I think they mentioned blasting jelly twice in the original show, and it has popped up at least 4 or 5 times this
They made
season.
it such a big thing here, yeah.
My girlfriend thinks it looks like Nickelodeon slime.
It does.
It'd be a good time.
It's flammable Nickelodeon.
Someone should get slimed on this show. I don't know.
I thought people would be making more Game of Thrones references.
I was going to say,
Wildfire.
the Wildfire, because it's greenish.
Exactly.
Is this the Battle of whatever bay?
Blackwater Bay.
Yeah, kind of is this version of it.
I'm sure it'll be of equal quality and be just as well done.
I'm sure.
Luminosity. That's a lot of words.
Yeah, we might be able to see it.
Let's get back to the last. Oh, I mean, unless we have more jump in with more misogyny comments. By far
jump
the
in
most
with more misogyny.
Well, maybe you want to phrase that
any
differently.
more? Any more misogyny? But let's talk about the Katara Pakku.
I don't want it to seem like I am all for misogyny.
I don't think anyone thinks that.
I agree. No. But I think it's reflective of our world, and it's something that people can relate to, and
Exactly.
I don't know. And this is a world. The Avatar world is a world that takes a lot from our world, and that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a question with that. This is a larger conversation.
Yes,
I'm just curious.
By the way, Sam and I had a discussion about this sort of thing in either the episode 3 or 4 podcast. I don't remember, but yeah, there's more there. Yeah, go ahead now.
Is my thing is in fantasy in this way, what they call, I think it's called second world fantasy, where you're off on where you're on a different location than Earth. I my own personal feeling is, sometimes I don't necessarily want to see our exact social constructions and social prejudices like appear in these worlds, because to me sometimes it makes it feel like, oh, this is an inevitability, and this is something any iteration of humanity would have. And to me it's like, hey, that's kind of a cynical and bummer way to have world building. And then also it you have the result of something without like all the context to it too, so it flattens it for me. But that's just my opinion. I understand a lot of people do want to see it reflected in fantasy and sci-fi and non-Earth worlds and that sort of thing, and they also use it as a way to like process their own feelings about it and that sort of thing. But for me, I just I don't always love seeing like humanoid fantasy portrayed with our own various societal constructs and ills and that sort of thing for those reasons.
It can be very tired, and I think in general it can be very lazy. Like, you're okay, I'm going to create this world with fantasy races. Well let's go ahead and just have racism. Like,
yeah, okay. And if you want to hear more on the we should show prejudices side, Sam had a great, as referenced in, I can't remember which podcast, but there's a great speech about this before, which we can get more into now. But isn't the Avatar world one of our favorite worlds? Haven't they always portrayed prejudices and that kind of match our world? I guess they eventually went in the direction of no homophobia.
It did exist in their world.
They referenced it in the comic books.
I guess they do go in
because Kaya's like, oh yeah,
depending on the culture, yeah.
Yeah,
but anyway,
Kaya talks about it.
I would say they've always tried to. I think this world has always really tried to match our world. In core they established that the technology progression matches, and I think the cultural progression seems to generally match up as well. So it does seem to be one of those fantasy stories that does have similar elements, including prejudice.
We go very much from the Four Nations to Republic City, and like the mixing. Like we're gonna have like this cosmopolitan city where all nations can be.
Yeah. And we're very much, yeah. So I think relevant to this show, I would say what I said before I feel like it just feels more pressing the similarities to our world when this is more of a quote unquote authentic adaptation featuring more people that would be the equivalent of these people in our world, more directly being shown on screen. So for me, it's more top of mind comparing it to real world cultures. So like on it, like maybe that's why for me, like the stuff in this episode, and honestly, a lot of it probably is just that I was pleasantly surprised to see them not ignoring it. So I think that affected my view of it a lot. But I think the framing of seeing the real people, the real cultures, slightly closer to the real world being portrayed, is a better framing for getting into this, even than in original Avatar.
That's probably true.
So, but that being said, that means it would have been even better had we gotten into it before this episode. But given that we get into it here, I don't know. I do think it's so slightly a difference. It's the same story. This episode's so similar to the original episode, but it is interesting to consider the different contexts for live action versus the animated show.
I do think we've done a very poor job of like contextualizing the genocide. They bring it up more as a sad thing that happened to Aang than
an actual travesty, human war crime.
Yeah, than the worst thing ever possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure to what extent Avatar got into it.
Do they even bring it up I haven't been paying attention.
They haven't really brought it up.
Yeah.
No, it's literally just Aang being yeah. And so granted, now that we're getting books 2 and 3 and we're kind of making Ozai a character, and maybe we can get more into
the headband type of stuff. It would be nice. Yeah.
Or just more like
with culture, you mean?
I mean more what is going to why is he going to wipe out the Earthbenders? That kind of.
Yeah, I will say
it's driving this.
more Ozai has not meant a deeper characterization.
Yes, not at all.
Yeah, so the whole he's So it makes there's a very simple reason why he killed the air nomads, and it's because that's where the Avatar was, and he was trying to break the cycle. Okay, cool, that works.
But then that was Sozin. So
But yeah,
not
that
even
was
Ozai.
Yeah, sorry, but that's Sozin. Well,
Yeah,
okay,
so
then why are we going to wipe out the Earthbenders? Like, and Ozai has said, the Fire Nation is the best. I'm going to bring unity, and it's like, are you though? And like, so what's your idea of unity? In this case, if you're going to wipe out the Earthbenders, you just want everyone to be Fire Nation.
Yeah,
It's like
I would like more from this
it?
on. I would like more from this in season 2.
Wasn't that from like Lord of the Rings? The Rings of Power.
Okay, but Katara Pakku fight.
Great fight, 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
9 out of 10.
Give it like a 6.
Yeah, Jeff. What were your any thoughts on this fight, Jeff?
Okay, I do love the ice projectiles. I think that was good. I'm looking like when Pakku like does his finisher and like traps her in ice. They kind of do the whole like Batman and Robin thing where you got like rubber ice that's like moving around. So I don't know what that ice is made of, if it's all flexible like that. Like those spikes are not fixed to the ground. Whenever they go in the air or across the ground and slide, or like sliding across their ice waves, I don't know. It felt like wire foo a little bit.
I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went back and watched the animated scene here, and I do think they make some intentional changes. First of all, we don't get Katara's line, "You can't knock me down."
Yeah, annoying.
Annoying. We do get every other line, but not that line.
With like,
it's like, oh, that's not her personality in this show. She's not a "you can't knock me down" person. Oh my god. But the screenshot of this, Katara's hair goes down. Big moment in the show.
Wow.
I watched the fight. That happens towards the end of the fight, and it's like kind of because she was knocked down by Pakku. Here they bring it earlier, and it's presented as more of an empowering moment for her. Which I actually think that's one of my favorite changes this whole show. It's such a small thing, but it's like they completely changed the context of this iconic moment. To some people, I don't know. Yeah, and there's just more elements to the fight. I like that she's like sliding on the ice and stuff like that. And I guess I want to go back and compare other fights now, because I thought it was interesting. Really, the Boomy fight was
this and the Boomy fight are the closest they tried to do like exactly the same. This I think is way more effective than the Boomy one.
I think so, and this really helps the episode a lot for me. There's other interesting things surrounding Katara with Aang, but before that, any further comments on the context of misogyny? Sam, was there anything you wanted to respond to or get into more?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Well, we're never good. The conversation is always ongoing. But I think for the context of this conversation, we can move on.
Okay. And in this episode too, because there'll be a little more. But yeah, I do think it's also interesting the guy who's more receptive to Katara, the younger guy, calls him Master.
Yeah.
Assuming that happens in this episode, I don't remember. Might be making that up.
I think it happens in this episode.
I have on that line, go kick his ass. We talked about that enough. But so we have this moment. Aang says Katara's like, they've been frozen in time, kind of kvetching to Aang, and then Aang is in his own state from having met Kuruk, and he's like, no, maybe you shouldn't fight.
That was
he would.
Which is an interesting choice.
He would actually never.
I couldn't believe. Like, I was ready. I was like, Katara, just slap him.
And it's clear he's not being sexist, but
he wouldn't say that. He would be honest and be like, I don't want you to get hurt.
And he gets there eventually. Yeah,
he does.
He gets it. They just present it in a dramatic
They're
context,
doing
which is annoying.
It was so funny to me that she really didn't have a reaction to that. She was sort of like, "Wow, like, you really think so?" And
it was just like the most shocking.
Yeah, like, I think my Katang interpretation is she trusts that Aang's not saying what she thinks he would. She trusts him not to say that type of thing.
By the way, we finally got some Katang.
So he says, I can't lose you and Sokka. Here, okay, this is.
This is interesting that this is what you're referring to. I thought there was something else that was more
and at the
Katangi.
end too. I'll put up the hidden Katang segment for this because it's the obvious stuff. These people need the Avatar, and I can't be the Avatar with you around, says Aang. To Katara, I mean, I guess Sokka's there too, but he's saying to Katara, I can't be the Avatar with you around. I don't know. Like, I guess this isn't supposed to have a romantic context, but this is a very romantic line.
Do you think that it was romantic or not? Like, let's assume for a minute that it's a platonic thing at this point. Do you feel that that was an earned line at this point?
No. They've barely interacted at all.
I'm gonna say somewhat, but no. Like, no, but they have had a lot of scenes of them smiling at each other and Aang encouraging her during her waterbending. There have been at least 5 scenes of that, which for this show, I guess, is a lot.
I feel like there have been maybe 2.
No, it's
and then we have the moment in during the feast.
That to me was read a little bit more romantic-y than this actually.
Yeah, let me wherever.
What moment did they even have?
They literally they just sort of looked at each other, but they did a weird.
Oh
linger.
yeah, so this was one of the 5 moments. Aang thanks Katara for getting him to the Northern Water Tribe, and Katara thanks Aang for I got to see the world because of you. Which that was Suki's thing. Like why
we left her behind.
It's all about men opening women's eyes.
I was not
taking
crazy
them wonder
about
by
that
wonder.
framing. Yeah, it really was. But at least they were happy together and thanking each other. I did read a little bit. I feel like this episode, maybe generously, is them opening the door for getting into romance with them next season.
Yeah, that's how I read the interaction during the feast.
I think so. I agree. I also read that romantic. I think these other lines are like this broader, like deeper potential context surrounding them, but they're more ambiguous and still supposed to be platonic, I guess. At the end,
And it's it's juxtaposed with Kuruk talking about Umi.
That's true. That's a good point, which they didn't really get into much, but yeah. After the fight, Aang says, "I can't protect you," to Katara. But again, it's like Sokka's also there, but he's like really clearly talking to Katara.
Like, where no one's talking to you, Sokka. This is not about you.
I guess more of the show is about Sokka than it should be. But
I'm kind of getting irritated with the show and Sokka.
Okay, we'll come back. Katara says, "We're family." Not romantic, but it's nice. And Katara says, "Only one person can tell you the future. The person who will write the Legend of Aang."
That's the name of the show in other
some countries. Yeah,
it's amazing. I was like,
it's a reference to the alternate title of Avatar.
Good stuff.
Okay, is that what that was?
Yeah.
This is a potential quote-lage one as well. I resisted, but that's
that's fair, valid.
Who will write the Legend of Aang? Despite that it's kind of corny and sucks, I kind of liked it. I don't know.
I did too. I didn't need Sokka talking after.
You guys like a lot of things that are corny and suck.
It was corny, but I think in a fun
This show is corny. The original Avatar is corny.
It is. Yeah, and
but it doesn't suck. This just kind of sucks.
This shows the different context where the corny stuff I think lands less well. It doesn't have the same tone. So I think when they try stuff like this, it
doesn't work
as good. Yeah, but I'm very receptive to anything with Aang and Katara. We're looking for scraps here.
I'm like, oh my god, they looked at each other. Oh my god, they stood next.
That's the thing. You're like, a moment is them sharing a look. I'm like, okay. Sure.
Now this is the first time I do think it was meant to basically be the bridge between when they start to push romantic stuff.
Yeah, which look, I'm fine with that approach. It's annoying. I mean, you shouldn't change the Cave of Two Lovers no matter what, but I'm fine with it getting to it here and starting to transition. I think it was done relatively well here. This is another reason why I think it's maybe the best episode, the most Katang, therefore the best episode. That's my true intentions.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Let's talk about Sokka and Yue finally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
First of all, I was right. Yue was the fox.
Wow.
Oh no, I watched it and I was like, it's Jeff. I was like, Jeff was right. They even did the camera shot, Jeff. Like, it's like everything you said.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, with the tail. Yeah, you called the tail thing for sure. Yeah.
Like, they were like, they showed it on the person. They're going to show it on the person. They're going to show it on. And I was like, it's Jeff. Jeff was right. Look.
I find it irritating when they do that and they don't just trust the audience to remember
like, we have to
something
flashback to I mean, to be fair, I didn't remember because this wasn't important.
I will
at
say
all,
this
her
is
little
the
thing.
issue.
I also didn't remember.
The flashback like that would have worked if this did not all drop at once and people weren't going to binge it. You had time to think about it.
True. You're
I
so
have an
right.
issue with the flashbacks with Aang whenever he's having an emotional moment is we have to watch all the previous avatars say the same 5 things to him, and I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, we have to flash back to it.
I'm over it.
To telegraph it. But anyway, Yui was the fox. I think this is mostly a nothing, but this is one of the biggest changes. Right, like Yui is not in the spirit world in dreams in the animated show. Is that correct?
No, she's not, and she's also not a
Not
bender.
until she dies. And then
Yeah,
no,
she's not a bender. I was shook this whole time. I was like,
I
didn't even remember she wasn't a bender.
Guys.
Well, I was like, did I just see that? Like,
Yeah,
what is she? Is this special magic ice cream? Like, what's
Yeah,
happening?
exactly.
Ice cream bend.
Ice cream bending.
Oh, what
Watch
a
that
power.
be the. I mean, I haven't seen the next episode, so I don't know. But is this going to be the only reference? Like that? It's just the ice cream bending.
She's
that's
gonna bend ice cream to defeat
I
Zhao.
love it. I love that she can ice cream bend. I want that power.
It's a good.
Like,
it would be a good power.
It's just water bending.
Finally, a
I
good use for
know.
bending. Finally,
But like, finally, I see the benefit to being a water bender.
Also, this kid looked at the whole situation like this was the coolest thing he'd ever seen, as if like people like in this place don't do that on the regular.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
it's
think she
ice
invented
cream.
it.
The princess made me ice cream.
yeah, someone I think in an email
It's like
we'll
that
read
girl-
tomorrow. Someone said, "Did Yui invent ice cream?" in that scene.
It's like the girl who had the spoon from Aang, Coco. She was like, "Oh my god, this is like
it's a spoon."
the Avatar touched the spoon," or like, "This is the first spoon I've ever seen."
I mean, she would be a celebrity, I guess, out of anyone here.
Yui.
Yeah, that's how I treat her. And what do we think of the fact that she goes to the spirit world and she talked to Sokka before?
We'll get into this more, I'm assuming, later. Like how the love triangle is. Like, oh, didn't you like have a relationship with Han? And she goes, yeah, but he's not the boy of my dreams. How many times has she seen Sokka in the spirit world? This is just the one time because he has only been there once. Like, does she just have like repeated dreams that he's in there? Does she go into the spirit world when he doesn't? Like,
I think
just
the
'cause she saw him
insinuation
once.
is maybe like she, I don't know.
She's like, it's destiny.
She's
because I
somehow
saw you in my
aware of
dreams
him.
one time.
They have some sort of like, she has some sort of prescience because of the spirit world. Who knows? Like, what I took from that was that they were suggesting that she, like, she knew about Sokka before, long before now. Is kind of
that was what I was assuming too, but it's a strange assumption to make because it's confusing.
The problem with foreshadowing is you kind of have to like know about Yue, and it doesn't work because you're like, this is the first time I've ever seen this girl in my life.
If you haven't watched the show,
Like, if you haven't watched the show, like, it doesn't make sense for this adaptation to be like, you're the fox, which it's like, okay, the fox had like a sentence and didn't do anything.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
legit thought it was Wang Shitong's knowledge spirit the first time.
That would have made more sense. And then there's the like, at least then in book 2, we'd be like, oh my god, look, it's the fox. But then like we're never going to see Yue again. Like, there is no reason to do this.
Jeff,
I would have actually liked if the fox were not like a big character. Like, oh, they gave this random spirit this cool line, like dialogue, and it was fun, and now we're done. But the sense I got was like she was just going. It might be different, right? Because I haven't seen the finale, but I thought she was just going for some corny "boy of my dreams" line because she did see him in a dream once. And I was like, boo! I don't like
exactly.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what it is.
I think it was like a cheesy romantic line. Yeah. I don't think it was like, oh, I've
that
been
makes
seeing
it
you
way
my
more
whole
like
life.
boo. I hate it.
So
More.
like, I thought Suki and Sokka were really cute and well done, and I think Sokka and Yue, boo, like, it's real bad.
First of all, Sokka is such a Rizzler in this show.
Don't call him that.
Rizzler.
What is a Rizzler?
Did I use that term right?
No,
Probably.
What is that?
I think he did.
He's such a Rizzler.
When someone
had
has a
like
lot of
based off
Riz.
Riz email, we had to
Someone
do
who has a lot of Riz, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I didn't know there was variations of the core.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know
Absolutely.
until recently. I've
I think
observed
you
the
made
kids
that up.
saying
I don't
Like a twist.
No, it's a real word. Someone called what the hell is his name? Jordan Fisher, a Rizzler.
It's what the kids are saying, apparently.
the fact that it was Jordan Fisher.
He is a Rizzler. Have you seen him in Hades?
Is Sokka not such a like? They expanded Sokka's Riz in this show.
They did.
Gosh.
He flirted
but, like,
with the Fire
That's
Nation.
what I said in episode 2. He's such a
You
lover
did.
boy.
He is
He
such a
did.
lover, but
I
that's
think
what
it's called
that
that.
word means. Yeah, he is such a lover.
Rizzler
boy
does
in
not
this
mean
show.
lover boy.
Yes, it
He's a
does.
heartthrob. He's like
It's bad.
I mean, this was also true in the original show. Like, he
Yeah.
was constantly had something going on.
yeah, but now it's like in my face, and I can't ignore it anymore.
I'm okay with it just as long as as you don't push it in
I
my
think
face
it's-
so much.
I know, exactly.
As someone who thinks acting like this is like a character flaw, I don't think it reflects well on Sokka.
That's the thing.
as a
It's
character.
like it kind of
Going around like trying to hook up with ladies everywhere we
I
go.
I actually think now that we're talking about it, the reason we do Yue as the fox is so that it's not just Sokka crushing on another girl. It's that he's fascinated because he recognizes her. It's not that he thinks she's hot. It's that I saw you before.
Does it work?
As a cuddly little creature.
I was in love with a fox.
When he
I'd go
"Where
for
do I
Fox
know
Girl
you?"
too,
I was
so.
like, "You don't know her."
That was what I thought. I was like, "What are you talking about?"
No,
I look.
really enjoyed it.
Here's how I was really not spoiled. Here's how I knew. The fox had a woman's voice. Women don't get to be like spirits and stuff unless it's intentional. I'm telling you,
gosh.
Like, it was clear. Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why they did this. And this is maybe a part of the cleaning up of Sokka's character. Like, they don't want him to be like a player. It's that, he went for Suki 6 episodes ago, but now he's going for Yue, not because of just because they have a spiritual connection type.
But he
of thing.
also went for that Fire Nation, that
Yeah.
unnamed Fire
And,
Nation.
so
woman.
that they kind of contradict themselves with that.
Which I don't blame Sokka. The only girl he's hung out with his whole life is his
It's
sister.
his sister.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him, but it's not great.
Yeah, it's so no, I think that's probably the ultimate motivation. So that's again more of them trying to make Sokka more likable through making him a cleaner character, which is annoying.
I don't think they're doing it very well.
I know, I agree. Also, I'm tired of watching him kiss people. Like, I'm over it.
He has a
for
weird
real.
jaw to be kissing people with. I'm sorry, Ian Osley, but
You got to be afraid of that poking you when you're getting kissed.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Gosh.
Someone on Twitter
roast
was like,
this
if I wanted to
man.
see Suki
Like,
kiss the moon. And
I
I'm
don't
like,
mean to roast him. It's weird seeing him kiss so many people, and like
people like
him being the
Can't help
only
that
one
his
kissing
jaw
so many
looks
people
like
in the
that.
show is the strange thing.
That's
I feel like that's a
it's always
desirable
consistent.
trait, a very sculpted.
What is?
Oh my god, fam, stop.
In traditional views of masculinity, I mean,
He's got a strong jaw.
yeah, strong jawline.
I get it. Yeah,
So
but,
strong
like,
it could pierce the hull of
He-
the Fire Nation.
he-
I think we
there
made
you
that
go,
joke
there you go.
already.
Keep
He
going.
can eat
'cause
hard
it's
things.
because it's so strong.
I think we made that joke last time we talked about this, but it's been a long podcast series. I don't know. I thought Sokka and Yue, they were fine. I will say I think I liked Yue's actress ultimately. I feel like
Remember Midnight?
yeah.
She's incredible.
I mean,
Oh, I thought she did great.
I feel bad
In
because
that
she
wig.
is gorgeous in real life, and the wig did her so dirty.
I don't know. I thought that she was very beautiful.
she's
The,
beautiful.
the
here.
wig was so distracting.
Even with the wig.
Even with the way I think that that character does not get a lot in here. And to be fair, it's not like Yue's the biggest character in the show
no.
either. But she doesn't get a ton of stuff work here, and I think ultimately her actress does sell this character pretty well.
Yeah, she's engaging and it's like she's like charismatic on screen. Like,
Yeah,
you're
I think
willing
so.
to just watch her do whatever because she's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Is she the best live
No.
action Yue?
No, I'm sorry.
I don't know. I think she's pretty good. I
Seychelles
have to see
was
more. I have to see more.
Versus Seychelles Gabriel in the
I
movie.
really
I
like
have to see
Seychelles.
more to decide.
I gotta say, we
Seychelles.
love Seychelles Gabriel, but
I was gonna say, are you conflating two characters when you're
we like
deciding
Asami.
this?
I think she was
I like
she was
Asami, but
fine.
I think she did a
in
really
that
good job
movie.
as Yue.
I think she
I'm
was
sorry.
fine. I think this is the better Yue.
I don't have I think character great. Her wig, you can't separate.
Well, this is the thing. I
Her
think
character
Yue
character.
is much better written here, but in terms of acting, I really liked Seychelles' performance. It was,
it's fair. It's really hard to separate the
completely
writing
different
from the performances in the movie. It's fair.
You seem more.
I promise you, I'm not conflating.
She seemed more like competent and much less of a figurehead than in the original. Like she's just like walking around and being her ceremonial self and occasionally having fun with Sokka, but here she's like involved.
She refers to herself as a priestess.
Yeah, isn't she like a spiritual guide or something?
That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's what they try to do with the character. They make her more spiritual. They say she's. We would like to have seen the priestessness happening.
Yeah.
She kind of just says that.
But
But we see her with kids, which I guess is a priestess thing. I don't know.
As we all know, the priestesses hang out with the children.
She introduces Aang to Kuruk's sanctum, right?
Yeah.
So,
Which she does in the original show too. Well, not Kuruk, but she takes him to the.
walks him to the
yeah.
But I guess that makes her a priestess.
Yeah,
I think it's a fine direction. Honestly, I was pretty happy with most of what they did with UA. It's just this like the dream thing. It just it all. I feel like it doesn't amount to much. Like we didn't do enough with it.
That's probably no. If they were gonna do it, they should have put more into it.
Like I guess it makes sense with her character. Like she was touched by a spirit, so she's part spirit, so she can go to the spirit world. Okay, I'm following.
But then they were like, no, we just made it as an end so that we can kiss.
Here's something that this made me think of is like, isn't it that humans can't understand spirits in the spirit world? So why was Sokka
I guess
able
because
to talk
she's
to
part.
her?
Oh yeah, well she's part spirit, but Sokka can talk to her.
Right, but because she's half human.
Because she's half human.
Maybe
Or
they're
at
not.
least
This is a plot hole they did not think of and will not resolve. But
You're right.
And it was unnecessary too. Like, why did we have to have that little thing where they can't understand the owl?
Yeah, that didn't amount to much. It's true. I feel like you get rid of that scene. You don't necessarily need to get rid of Sokka and Yue, although again,
why is he there? He's supposed to be in the library. Mind-boggling.
And then Wan Shi-tong there's still not really any purpose for him having been there. But yeah, I don't know. It's like once we get to the north, though, I think well, how about the kiss with Sokka? Yeah, we get the line. What Han, isn't he great? He's not the boy of my dreams.
Yeah. See now that is why to me it read. I was just reading it as like they were trying to establish something deeper with her stuff.
They might have.
So
because they were like, oh yeah, at 16 she said no to Han, and like whatever, she might have just not wanted to marry Han.
Yeah, maybe she'd already seen Sokka in her dreams by that point,
Exactly.
and that's why she was rejecting.
That was my assumption.
That's how
I will
read
say
that
Sokka was being really weird about it.
This is like a reverse girl in the fireplace type of thing she could have been doing with Sokka his whole life in the dreams. I would have loved that.
Wow.
But
That was what I was thinking of, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I think it's a fair reading. Or she could have just been saying, "No, I prefer you" through this line.
I think it's definitely both, but trying to make
I have
it
the best pickup line ever.
Like
It's like a pickup
emphasis
line
on the
if you
first line. I would have liked it to have made more sense because I prefer that reading.
I guess I kind of like that. It's like, oh, Han, he's the perfect guy.
No, he's not.
Which we didn't see enough of him to call him.
He doesn't do anything.
He seems fine.
I
He
have
seems
to
nice.
admit, I completely forgot his name, and I wrote down in my notes "D-bag fiance."
Okay. It's okay.
Is
Jeff
he a
literally referred to
D-bag
him
in
as
this show?
Haru.
No,
so
he's a
he
really
did.
nice guy in this show. I like Han in this show.
He seems nice.
He's a good guy. He respects women.
He respected. I mean, he respected.
He drinks
his-
respect women juice.
I was just about to say that.
Exactly. Thank you, Sam. He does.
Like, he's perfectly nice. Yeah.
He's the
So-
perfect guy. He's the guy of my dreams.
But I kind of like that. It's like that's nice. You should go for Han.
I think you got a real shot.
I kind of like that. It's like he's the perfect guy, but I want to be with you. I don't know. I kind of like not explaining that to some extent. It's like,
I do too.
You like who you like. Like
it depends on how they were
enjoy-
trying to set it up. If I'm not getting into this anyway.
Like we have a connection. I don't have a connection with him. That being said, I feel like we get to this kiss pretty quickly, and we didn't really
I don't
see
think there
that
was a
much of the
reason.
connection.
That was
To
how I
have
felt
this
about
big
like
throat.
Sokka and Suki as well, though. We didn't really see that much of their connection. They just trained one time.
That's why Sokka has just incredible riz. He gets these women to kiss him right away.
I do miss the drama of the engagement from the original show when they meet on the bridge and she's like,
yeah.
Well, that's what I missed, but I don't
that's
miss
what we
Han
cut out.
being a dick because that was not enjoyable. He was also classist in that one in the animated series.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have it just shouldn't have been there. Like there's no reason to be like, yeah, we were engaged. Like, what's the point?
That's the one good thing the Shyamalan movie did. They didn't have the love triangle at all.
It's just, I guess, angst for Sokka's pursual of Yue.
It's for him to be really weird about it. So, like, why did you just get over it?
He
Sokka?
just walks up to Han. He's like,
Like, you're so weird.
What about Princess Yue? Huh?
hate
She's pretty cool, huh?
And then he's like, I have a question. Why did you reject Han? Isn't he so buff and handsome? Why would
Maybe
you...
Sokka just has a crush on Han, actually.
Maybe.
That would be understandable. I think we should have
I
gone down
would
that
blame
direction.
him for that.
Really,
I was like, when they said in the
Sokka
press
would
kit,
be like good. Like,
didn't they mention in the press kit they were like love triangle? I was like, it's gonna be.
And it wasn't a love
It's
triangle. by the way.
Sokka.
It was like not a love triangle here.
Sokka bisexual panic.
It would if like Loverboy Sokka like also going for guys, that would be really interesting. They could have added that in. This would have been, but but they're not changing enough. Like they're not like going in enough of a different direction to be particularly interesting. I feel like in a direction like that. Sokka, they kiss, and I don't know. It was nice. It was a nice kiss. I just feel like there's not a lot preceding it in this episode.
No,
but to be
really.
fair, there wasn't that much in the animated show either.
Also, Aang is just there.
And then they're kissing while Aang's corpse is there. Yeah,
he's just meditating. He
Aang's
wakes up
corpse.
like, what did I miss?
His lifeless corpse, and then he wakes up and
Not lifeless. He's meditating.
What if he woke up and they're still kissing?
That was what I expected.
Yeah, like Aang's in an argument and they're making out over there. Like
it would have been funny.
And he was like, "Oh, that's cute."
They could have pulled.
Like,
life just happens.
Every time we go somewhere, Sokka's kissing somebody.
Yeah, he's like, "This is normal." Yep. Anything else on UA or Sokka and UA?
You all should go watch Prey, starring Amber Midthunder.
Oh, okay.
Very good. It's a spooky movie, so watch out. But she's very good in it.
Nice. Okay.
She better than she is in this.
What?
Is the writing better than this?
Yeah, no, it's incredible. It was a very well reviewed film.
It is. Everyone really likes it.
I'll have to look into it.
Apparently, she's half Thai, Chinese, half indigenous.
Yes.
Okay, so Kuruk, don't need to spend a ton of time, but we get a lot more. I mean, from an Avatar universe perspective, it's like really interesting to try to get into Kuruk more here, which is, I guess, what they're going for.
I liked him. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about him to know if it was. It clearly wasn't super faithful to some other material, but I enjoyed him in this.
I mean, the thing is, just from the original, like animated Avatar, all we know is that he like surfed and ignored his duties. That's like all.
This
all it
is
got
why
into.
you have to read the book.
Well,
his
so then the books
fiance
are
got
and his
eaten by Ko.
eaten by Ko. So they get into that, but the books get more into this dark spirit stuff apparently, which is what they reference here. He spent his life fighting dark spirits, and it damaged his body and corrupted his soul. I thought that was maybe the most interesting.
I was
aspect.
shook. I was like, what?
And he's like, so I can't go into the Avatar state for you. So honestly, I think this was pretty good. This aspect of it, like I guess considering Aang is like, just do what Kyoshi did, help, like do it for me, and he's like, actually, I can't do that. Which is annoying that he's also like, you have to master all the elements before the Avatar state. And Aang's like, I haven't even mastered water. I haven't even waterbended once yet. Yeah, that's not happening.
Whose fault is that? And I also was a bit. I mean, he went in before he went into this Avatar spirit. They were like, oh, Kuruk was lame because he abandoned us, right? And then we get the real story from Kuruk directly. He's like, actually, I was off saving all of you with the spirit world. And then Aang doesn't say a word about it when he comes back.
He was like, nah, he can't help me.
Yeah, I know. He was just like, yeah, he sucks.
Well, Yue before was like, I like to think there's a reason for, and then Aang didn't update Yue about like your kind of spiritual
did, but it was
idol.
off screen.
Yeah, that would have been a nice Yue moment, because that's a Yue thing that's separate from Sokka. That she's like, I like. I think I kind of hypothesized this past guy was actually good, and I think that would have been more cool to see more of. But anyway, he just gets mad. I feel like the uninteresting part is that all the avatars are just telling Aang, "No, you have to just do this alone," and they kind of shove it in our face.
And everything sucks.
Yeah, well, they're trying to push the Crossroads of Destiny stuff
or like even the Sozin's Comet stuff. It feels like,
I don't know. It feels very antithetical to like what the show's like, what Avatar as like a franchise is about, really, because it's always about like the Avatar has their gang.
Like the Avatar can't do it alone.
Right, we're really contradicting that here.
Like I feel like they're setting it up in that way because like the assumption is that the Avatar has to do it alone, but the reality is that they can't and they shouldn't have to.
And they're trying to contrast it with Aang, and we set this up again. I think this is an interesting enough thing that this episode does. This episode tries to set up Team Avatar in the beginning. We're Team Avatar as we go into the Northern Water Tribe.
Work that well because we haven't seen them bond that much.
I agree.
Or have a lot of teamwork in general.
I agree, but we say Team Avatar, and then Kuruk's like, no, you have to do this alone. And then at the we're family, it's Team Avatar. It's not it's not just you.
Gang.
It's not the Aang. It is the Aang gang, but not just Aang.
Aang and those two waterbenders.
Yeah, those two waterbenders that everyone saw. And I guess what people consider the gang is not until we get Toph. I guess that's the thing.
They're the fearsome foursome.
The fearsome foursome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember?
So, but
The
yeah, so
triple
that
threat triad. Sorry.
definitely like I like the thematic intentionality from the episode of like they've reached the climax of their relationship that we haven't seen that much, but they say Team Avatar, and then no, all the Aang's mentors are telling him you have to do it on your own. But the reality is he needs his team, and he's going to grow into that.
Maybe they're just scarred from all of their friends being killed because they were the Avatar.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also what this episode is saying. Yeah, because you get the impression Kuruk's advice is coming from a place of his trauma with Umi.
Yeah. He's like, I see you like this water tribe girl. That's not going to end well for you.
Don't love
He should have said
anybody.
that. That's what all of them are saying. It's true. Avatar must walk alone, or else the ones you love will suffer. But yeah, I feel like you get the impression that he's not coming from an unbiased place.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting enough what we're doing here. I think it's
Roku's also like, not that they've revealed that yet, but
Roku's also
they
said
didn't,
a similar thing, but we don't know the context in the show yet. Obviously, we know it's the Sozin stuff from watching Avatar, but I don't know. It's an interesting direction to go, considering the original show did set up all this trauma for all these avatars. Honestly, so I guess it kind of makes sense in that regard, but it is weird.
Every avatar is just so traumatized.
Yeah, all they have going for them is suffering.
Isn't Ali that what the book series is about? All these past avatars of all this trauma. That's the premise of the book series.
Trauma, they all make mistakes, and the next avatar is always the one to have to rectify those mistakes.
Wow, really makes you think about the cycle.
It does.
Of everything.
Everyone
got
should read
off
these
pretty
books.
easy.
The books are so good. Aang, he did not. Hello, his
Aang
people
was pretty.
got wiped out. What are you?
After that, Korra. After the show into Korra, I feel like things were relatively smooth.
Korra had, not to say she had it easy, but she did have like fully realized masters teaching her, not to like the little talk.
She didn't have to learn it in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, she had 17 years.
I mean, Aang's adult life that the stuff we know of.
She does get poisoned, so she did not have it easy. I'm not trying to belittle her struggle here.
Okay. Anyway, that's
read the books.
Correct.
Yeah. The Kyoshi one, the Rise of Kyoshi. That one's really good.
Rise of Kyoshi, Shadow of Kyoshi,
finished.
Legacy of Yang Chen. What was another one?
I think it was just those three.
Dawn of Yang Chen, Legacy of Yang Chen.
I was like,
there's a Roku book coming out next year.
Reckoning of Roku, I think is what it's called. It's this year also, this summer.
Are we going to explore? Yeah.
Yeah, they kissed at least once.
Just briefly, there was some Avatar.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Explore each other. Just briefly, there's some Avatar news today that people think on the listing for that Roku book, they referenced a new Avatar series from Avatar Studios in 2025. Short version, we don't know how reliable this is. This could have come secondhand from an unreliable source, so I would wait for official word. That being said, we are all anticipating a new Avatar show at some point.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if it came out next year, but who knows? I mean, not to get too much into Avatar Studios podcasts in the future. I would much more here for a new Avatar show than for Aang.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Azula briefly. She lightnings here in front of Ozai as proof that she doesn't need his stupid tests anymore, which apparently Ozai's freeing prisoners and having his daughter fight them.
It sounds like something he'd do.
I don't think he's freeing them. I thought he's
not freeing them, but he's taking them temporarily out of jail to fight his daughter. Interesting move.
And this continues, like, May's job is to explain to us what is going on because they can't show it.
Yeah.
Or they can't trust us to figure it out. Like, why?
I'm like, especially Ty Lee, I guess, just because I know the actress, but I'm so excited to see more from both of them, and they're just doing nothing in the show.
Ty Lee's job is to be really gay for Azula and go, "You're perfect." That is her job.
I mean, she did say that. Yeah, we're perfect. Yeah, she did say encourage her.
She is a planet, and they are her moons.
Is that what she said?
That's what I said.
That's the show wouldn't say something that deep. Come on, that's Sam only.
That's original Sam poetry for you.
Sam's Tyzula fanfic coming out soon.
I'll read it.
Oh yeah.
Tyzula plus May.
Works for me.
So I mean, Azula lightning bending here. I didn't expect it. I guess I should have, because I didn't remember like Azula's introductory episode. She lightning bends in season 2 premiere. So she really can. So she comes into Avatar being able to lightning bend. So it makes sense that if we're showing Azula before book 2, we would show her lightning bending for the first time. So I guess that's a good move by them, but it's everything else is just nothing with her.
I wish she would have done the very like typical "I'm choose you" when they're like choose who to fight.
I know. I thought
like
she
she
was
would have pulled
totally
an
gonna.
Earth King.
I totally thought she was
yeah.
gonna be like, "I'm gonna
King
fight
of Omashu.
Yeah, they did do that in King of Omashu.
Yeah.
I've been rewatching season 1 since we've been watching this, so it's on the brain.
Nice. Yeah, could have fought Ozai, but she's like, I'll fight no one. And she wants to go out into the world.
It's really, that's the theme with the women in this show, huh?
I guess
It's a good point. It's a good point.
it's not looking good.
You could argue that this is them displaying misogyny in the Avatar world in a very subtle way, that all the
that's
women are
true.
pretty sheltered.
That is true. Like, I'm not really discrediting that. I just think it's a funny thing that's
Azula's like, I'm gonna break my
feels like
chains
it's
to go
not
kill some guys.
purposeful.
It certainly doesn't feel purposeful, but if it is,
Maybe it is the
cool.
hidden misogyny of the writers.
Hidden misogyny.
That's our new segment.
Not so hidden misogyny.
No, but like, you know, it's ingrained in all of us.
Sure,
because it's,
Yeah.
You know,
Girls
it's
can't
part of the
travel.
culture, blah blah blah.
Culture war.
Any thoughts on Azula? Any thoughts on Azula lightning bending?
I thought it was cool.
I know people are upset that she didn't like straight up just shock Ozai.
That's what I wanted, but she couldn't do that, obviously.
Then the series would be over.
Nothing shocks this man.
Oh, you mean
would be
like
over.
physically?
Yeah, physically.
But,
Not emotionally.
No, actually shock him, not.
He's just like, oh my god, you didn't shoot me.
So pretty.
Well, this is the thing. Hold on. She didn't shoot him. Why didn't he get on her about showing compassion and that being weak? Hold
True.
on.
She's the favorite. Duh.
Because she showed
Yeah, I don't
enough
think he
power.
does anything with a ton of continuity in his
No,
character.
certainly not. That's not what the show is about either.
Jeff, do you anything?
Oh, it was a nice little visual effect having the lightning show up in Ozai's eyes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good VFX.
And more slow-mo.
No, bad.
I did watch the again the Pakku in the animated version. There's slow-mo.
That works. There it works. Everywhere else.
Animated good.
I will
Live action
No.
bad.
I mean, like when they did it in this adaptation,
Oh,
the
when they
slow
did
motion
it,
worked
yeah.
there.
It
But
did, yeah.
Every other bending scene, you don't need so much.
I did
Like,
finally. The slow mo got me in the finale that we'll talk about.
yeah, there's more.
And I was like, ooh, that was
I'll
bad.
have to look for it. Okay, I don't remember. Azula Light. Oh yeah, so I looked up the history of Azula Lightning Bending. She had the 2 teachers. I forgot about that. Why didn't she have her
Lo and
teachers here?
Lee.
Yeah, where are they?
They're
That'd be cool
in
to
the
see
Earth.
them.
Maybe they'll
Void.
go with her when she
Aren't
goes
they?
out into the
They're-
I
world.
hope so.
Maybe
her
they're on the
great maintenance,
Ember
right?
Island.
I think the problem is that they were comedic in Avatar, and the show isn't funny.
They were only
so-
comedic in season 3. In season 2, they were just like there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they can make them creepy. Like they talk in unison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ozai had his attendants here, who judged her on her performance. Like that was kind of their, like they could have replaced them with the 2 late.
Yeah, why not? I agree. Yeah. They have the random guys that's like, Ozai
Also,
finds this deficient.
It's really important to me when in book 3, or no, I guess it's still book 2. I'm mixed up, but where they're like, Lo and Lee are doing their thing, and they're like, "Your prince has returned." Like, I need it to be exactly what happens. It's important.
You need them to do the whole speech about how they conquered Bossing Say.
Yes.
Yeah, I need the whole thing.
I was looking into the Lo and Lee, and then I was remembering lightning bending in the show, and it wasn't top of mind, the whole redirecting and then what happens in the invasion. I'm like, wow, Avatar was really good.
It was.
There's all this good, really good stuff. Like I guess
Avatar is really good.
it's really
Shock.
good. So, yeah,
It's
if
really
you
good,
redirect
guys.
it,
I don't know if
won't
you
get
know
shocked.
this, but Avatar: The Last Airbender.
There's
is a really good
there's
show.
so much good stuff in these 2 seasons for them to adapt and mess up. Like there's so much.
True.
See,
Like
you're using my line of thinking here.
But look, that being said, I thought ultimately they nailed the waterbending master. I mean, it wasn't as good as the original waterbending master, but I think this was pretty
Yeah, they did all right.
pretty straightforward.
I got what I wanted. I just wanted Katara to fight him, and
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I agree. That was kind of the main thing. Did we miss anything big? I feel like we've hit on everything did we hit on everything I had bolded? Yes, we did. especially the Katang lines. Mel, why don't you tell us about the hidden Zutara in the north?
Well, listen, why do you think Zuko's on that ship heading that way?
Why do we think he's on that ship?
Asked and answered.
Certainly not for the Avatar.
He says
wants
the
his journal
Avatar.
back.
He said, yeah, he said.
With his notes about that cute water tribe girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, it's connecting. It's threads. It's all going to pay off.
He said to Iroh, what's the plan? To capture the Avatar, regain my honor, except he still doesn't say honor. Yeah. So
but he knows
regain
that
my, what did he say
Katara
before? Glory?
is traveling with the Avatar.
So he did
That's,
not.
Yeah, so what he really meant was Katara.
Zuko hasn't said honor. Aang has not bent water.
Yep,
What's next?
Still.
Is Toph gonna see?
I guarantee you.
That's what I'm afraid of. You don't understand how afraid I am of them just giving her sight.
I will say I'm really scared if they're just messing her hair up. It's gonna be like horrific.
Well, that's a given.
Oh,
I would
gosh.
say be more concerned who they cast as Toph. Will they cast a blind person? That's the big
doubtful. Super doubtful. They didn't even cast the kid who played Teo is not actually in a wheelchair.
Oh, is he not? Yeah,
No.
It's not encouraging. But there's higher stakes with Toph here.
Way higher, but it's also way more difficult to find. You need to find someone who knows martial arts basics, is Asian, and is blind.
And a young girl and is blind. It's tough to find.
That's hard. That's like impossible.
She's out there.
I think she's out there. I think they also will age Toph up since there'll be a big gap. So it doesn't have to be a 12-year-old. I think that'll help.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. And Mel, any other hidden Zutara?
No, that was my main one.
What's your Zutara finale? Since you won't be on the finale, is there any?
Well, listen, we all
words on
remember
Zutara?
that very charged duel that they have in the
we do.
Spirit Oasis.
Yes. Are you looking forward to that? Is that the
Of
thing?
course, it's like my
magnum opus.
Yeah, well, no, not my magnum opus. It's their magnum opus. It's the epitome of everything that was promised in the very subtle foreshadowing throughout the entire first season.
That's what we've been building up to this whole show. Their tension-filled face-off.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it pays off. I was looking through my notes. The only thing I didn't say was during the Kuruk scene, we talk about Umi and we get a flash to Ko, and I said, "Oh, good, we get to see the vagina again."
Why do you
very
keep
briefly
saying this?
Sam, I feel like it squelched in this 1 second. Like they added such the most prominent folly of the show.
My girlfriend and I, we looked at pictures of Ko last night just to figure out does this look like a vulva or a vagina? And we determined it.
How many of you see have faces on them?
Looks more like an eye. I think that's fair. Look, this panel, I mean, this podcast is, if anyone's gonna be able to determine if Ko looks like that, it should be us. So, any other opinions here?
Oh my god.
I think the axis upon which it is oriented, it makes it hard for me to see what you see because it's
fair.
Horizontal.
Yeah.
But I think yes, if he was blinking the other way, it would seem like something.
I see what you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just why does he have to sound like that and be goopy? And it doesn't need to be this comparison, but
changed from the animated series.
It just didn't come off to me that way in the animated show.
Yeah, because it's not lifelike.
He definitely seems goopier.
That's what happens when you do the realistic CGI.
Yeah.
You get very goopy things. Yeah.
Like he's kind of like Predator.
Things in life are goopier than you think. Should we keep going?
No.
Jeff, you posted a poem? Is this for sharing on the podcast?
Sure. Yes. I forget. I'm sorry. I think it was Ali. Zuko's not set honor. Aang has not bent water. Ozai's rage-filled daughter.
Oh my god. Beautiful.
Nice.
Can you put an applause soundbite behind this? Because that was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, you can just.
I've
been clapping for people. Yeah. During.
That was
it's very good.
You just have to make it into a haiku now.
Zuko's not.
Oh,
saying
yeah.
that's for.
Because it's not haiku.
When did we do haikus during Avatar? I don't remember.
Did we?
Tales of
It was-
Bossing
Tales of
Say.
Ba Sing Se.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you
Yeah,
were talking
yeah.
about
We
us,
referenced
like,
that already.
on the
We referenced that already.
podcast.
We all had to turn in a haiku. Don't you remember?
We'll do that next week. Everyone put in your series finale haiku.
Okay. We'll start working on that.
Listeners, give us your haiku.
Allie, was there any other parts of this episode you wanted to bring up?
I'm just looking at your notes. It would have been wise to focus on your training during your journey. Yeah, it would have been nice to see. I think you mentioned that somewhere in the podcast already, but
it was, I put it in the quote lodge. That was my entry to the
like,
quote lodge
ooh,
from
bird.
this
That's
episode.
right.
It would have been wise to focus on your training during your journey. So the show is clearly aware of it, and yet and will point it out, and it's like, no, you writers, it would have
is
been
your
wise.
fault.
Like, like, why are you telling him to hang?
Why are you burning your own character?
it's yeah, I don't know. I think I'm forgetting how to pronounce her name.
Yue.
No, Katara's actor.
Katara?
Her actor.
Oh, I didn't put in the outline.
You want to?
Gowan Dio.
Gowan Dio she slayed this episode. It was alright.
There's been some criticism of her. She has not had the material this season, I really feel. And I think she delivered this episode.
Yeah, for sure. It was all right. I have seen the finale. I probably should rewatch it tonight to prepare for tomorrow. My mind is on how they're going to go from here, so I will not spoil anything until tomorrow.
Yes. Okay. Mel, any final thoughts here and any parting thoughts as you cannot join us on the finale podcast?
Well, let's see if they can stick the landing to this incredibly well thought out, well executed, perfectly done.
Yeah, well, what's your heading into the finale? What's your review?
I mean, here's something that I was thinking about. I mean, well, my review so far is I can see why a critical mass of people would enjoy this. It does make me a little bit bummed out for the state of like streaming content and like kind of where we are with that. I have a fear that Aang's just gonna learn waterbending from the water spirit and just we're gonna just be good to go for next season. So
like he's gonna just be a master straight up.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, like I got the download from the
download.
That would be that sounds like this show.
I torrented my waterbending skills from
essentially. I have a fear of that happening. We'll see what happens.
What I did there.
But yeah, no, I mean, as funny as it would be to just stop now and not finish, I feel like I am interested enough that I will finish.
Someone I am following on Twitter almost didn't keep watching because they really didn't like this.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. The middle was rough, and the thing that kept me watching was that I had episodes to do on the podcast.
Yes.
So
it's a good motivator. To talk about.
Yeah.
The sunk costs.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I will. Let's bring in the one feedback I wanted to put on this one. We already have some feedback for the finale.
Sam didn't say anything.
Yeah, well, several of you have not said anything.
Gosh,
I'll interrupt the final thoughts.
I care about Sam. Sam has.
Delaney also didn't say.
I gotta look out for number one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't look out for Sam. Who's gonna look out for Sam? Nobody.
It's true.
I like this. I like this. I like this self-love.
I gotta look
this
out for number
self-love.
one. This is
I
like
like this. Giving us, telling us what you need.
Because, I wanted because it was related to what Mel was saying. So what Stuart wrote in, and it was for episode 8, but I think we can just say it now. Says, "Hi, I've been a fan of you since covering Steven Universe. Regarding Avatar, might it be interesting to hear the opinion of someone who watched it with no experience the original show? He watched with his wife, who had never seen the original, and she loved it. She thought it was dramatic, funny, emotional. Her favorite characters: Zuko, Iroh, Katara, Yue." In tears throughout the finale, which isn't really spoilers, I will say. Spoiler alert, I was not in tears throughout the finale. She found Yue. She found Katara very relatable and empowering, waterbending. So have you heard any opinions from people who are unfamiliar with the original? I think this is an interesting topic. I think we've some of you guys have brought in thoughts from watching with people who hadn't seen Avatar. So we have been talking about this. And I've heard from my brother and his fiance they've loved this. I've not seen the original, unfortunately. So I think
Your brother lived in the house with you.
I told my brother before the show started, I will never talk to you again if you watch this live action show without having seen.
Wow.
And yet he did not watch the animation.
So you're never going to talk to him again?
Nope, never, not happening.
Okay.
I don't mean this in a bad way, but normies, as in people who've not seen animated Avatar, they seem to love this show.
I mean that in a bad way. Like,
they seem to love it. Yeah.
I guess
I've
I need to tell my
like,
sister about it.
The people I've spoken to 2 people who've not seen the original, and they are like, it makes me curious about the original because you talk about it. You've talked about it since I've known you. So that's something. Does it make your brother curious to try the original now?
I would hope so. I mean, I think that there's a whole group of people who just are much less likely to watch quote unquote children's content or animated content, you know? So
yeah, but like, has he said as much after finishing this with his family?
I have not heard this yet. I have not heard this.
Dylan's also not speaking to him.
Does anyone else watching with someone who is not, do they have the same experiences here?
So my wife she didn't grow up with like regular cable, so she has seen some episodes of Avatar, but not all, and she has a poor memory. She has enjoyed watching this, and she's interested in, which we got like halfway through Korra. She is interested in sitting down and watching Avatar with me. So that's something I've expressed and she wants to do. My wife has also like crocheted me things for Korra and Avatar.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
Also, she has cried for 50% of the episodes.
Like, why do you not watch?
In response to what?
Good.
In response to sad things like Lu Ten.
Yeah, I think that this show is probably capturing enough of the moments, that were resonating. That I think it's at least in the ballpark with a lot of these core emotional moments that are going to resonate with people, even just watching this show. So I think just a lot of the nits we're picking, which aren't really nits, but they're just not important to someone who hasn't seen it, and so. Maybe even though we're saying that the spirit of Avatar is not being captured in the down moments and the character work and the lightheartedness, I guess the core story emotional content is maybe being replicated to enough of an extent that it's resonating for people.
Well, I think they've done a really good job with Zuko and Iroh, and I think that's really what a lot of people are latching onto. My wife, her favorite character is Iroh.
But Dylan, you said your brother's fiance was attached to Katara and Yue, and I'm like, why?
That was the listener.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Well, listener, why? How?
I mean, I'm attached to Katara this episode.
I mean,
we know her. We already know her.
Okay, well, that's the thing though. If you have nothing and you've been watching this show for 8 hours, I think it's reasonable to get attached to Katara.
Yeah, but not enough to cry, I don't think.
Yeah, it's interesting. We can look, and this show is popular. It got a 2-season renewal, so
look, we have baggage. It's different with people who don't have baggage.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to say. We are biased towards an animated Avatar type show. We grew up with this type of show. We in our minds.
Well, it's I'm heavily biased against live action. Period.
Right.
If someone says I am not going to watch it. I am much more likely to watch an animated show.
Yeah.
Today's TV audience is much more biased in favor of this type of show. This is, as we've talked about, the prototypical streaming drama of its time. So this is the format which people are going to be most susceptible to the storytelling. They'll be most open to it presented in this format, which I guess
also,
is the idea of
it hasn't
doing
been out very long, and it's already been renewed for 2 seasons.
Yeah,
they're going to finish it. Yeah.
So it's landing.
It's doing very well worldwide. Also, I think is the big thing.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. You might not know it from us having a lot of negative thoughts, but it does seem to be very popular and beloved. It's not like it has an amazing critics reaction or anything, but yeah, I mean, it is, I guess, important to talk about this perspective too. Although this is the podcast for the intense Avatar fan, but it's an interesting interlude. Anyway, let's get back to the final thoughts, Sam.
Thank you. Even though I made a big stink, I don't really have much to say.
That's what I was expecting.
Honestly.
But, I didn't really like Kuruk's beard.
Ooh, that's fair.
It sounds like a Kirk you'd say. Kuruk's beard.
It was too manicured. Like he just came from the barber shop, and like I don't know. I don't believe it. But
He
yeah,
did not. He wasn't giving Kuruk. He was just giving past life.
he was just giving came from the barber shop. Anyway, yeah, I thought this episode was okay. There was a lot of power friendship stuff. And as I said earlier, it didn't really feel like it worked. I didn't feel that emotional beat at all. But, you know, it is what it is. It's very interesting to me that people are emotionally responding to this who have never seen the original. I would love to speak with them.
Yeah.
We need to bring one of these people onto the podcast.
We'll have normies on to talk about to them.
Oh, God.
That's why I'm like, it must be at least capturing enough from the original show. But you could, Sam, I think you could argue the Iroh Zuko stuff is at least, it maybe even registers on another level than
it's actually way stronger, I think.
I agree.
IMO than, like, at least comparatively to book one, if we want to do the compare and contrast. I would love to just have my mind erased so that maybe I could be somebody who could watch this one.
Normal.
I could be somebody who could watch this version of Avatar for the first time and understand that perspective, but I can't. So
I understand the perspective. I just don't agree with it.
I mean, we're coming from a different place, you know. So
a better place. I'm an elitist. I'm an animation elitist. I don't care.
Allie's an elitist.
Being a bunch of Nickelodeon nerds as youngsters.
Nickelodeon gacked.
Jeff, any final thoughts?
Oh, I'm just thinking about the conversation that must have happened before Ozai and his attendants went out to judge Azula the first time. Like, hey, listen, I'm not going to say a word, but you need to kind of read my mind and tell her she's doing a bad job, and we're going to be all panic about it.
Those attendants seem like
yeah.
Yes.
But they must have but like Jeff's saying, it must have been, I mean, or they know that's the expectation from Ozai, that's what
are they
do.
like really confident that she's not going to kill them? Like I'd be like, she won't kill me.
Bend.
Like, she gonna be in my sleep.
Yeah, Jeff just pointing out the utter ridiculousness, I feel like, that are these Ozai Azula scenes, like
which actually, now you say it, like we talked about bringing Lo and Lee in and being like the like talking at the same time and how creepy that was. I don't know if that would come across as creepy in live action, or if it would just come across as, wait, that's very unrealistic. How are you doing that?
Yeah, I believe that is what they are thinking with things like this. They think that the cartoony, in quotes, aspects will not translate. I think that is true to some extent. However, I think attributing cartooniness to animation in general is wrong. So
they could just have them like complete each other's sentences.
Yes, that would do.
They do kind of do that.
They do.
Yeah. I like it when they speak together in unison. What a powerful, beautiful
amazing
time that is. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Delaney, final thoughts.
I got what I wanted out of this episode. Pretty much.
I keep saying it.
Is that it?
There you go.
Yeah, I just wanted Katara to fight Master Pakku, and it was epic.
Yeah, you're real for that one.
That's all I wanted.
The female rage was popping off here, honestly.
And then Sokka saying go, because I was saying go kick his ass like the whole time, and then Sokka said it, and I was like, yeah, let's go.
He's just like me for real.
Totally didn't clock that he said that.
That's incredible.
That's how engaged I was.
Clearly, yeah. Yes. Okay. Mel, anything else to close out?
I got nothing.
Okay, there you go. Our discussion on the North. Let us know your thoughts. Podcast@overlyanimated.com. You probably aren't going to write in time for the finale discussion, which we're recording Friday afternoon, but won't be out until Monday.
I believe in you. You can do it.
But we might reconvene for a season retrospective / season 2 preview type of thing. So we will see. But you can write into podcast@overlyanimated.com, comment wherever you are, leave us reviews. Thank you very much. And you can consider supporting us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Carter. And thanks as always to our patron executive producer, Steve, Michael, and Phonician. Coming up, Legends, the finale.
These titles are terrible.
Can we have a quote like of us? That would be fun.
Yeah,
That'd be a
quote
very
edge of
meta
us.
quotage.
You should do it.
Dylan's done this.
Did we
For, like,
used to
the
end
1,000?
on something?
Yeah, we used to come with something to end on.
Oh yeah, we ended on something.
Yeah, you
What
come up
should
with
we end
something
on?
by the end of every podcast. You come up with something for us to end on.
I'm
Should
not
we end on
Kick his ass.
one.
toe the vagina?
No!
The Rizzler. What should we end on?
Rizzler. I like that one.
No. Yeah, kick his ass is too celebrating the show for the tone of this podcast.
I refuse to end on vagina.
We won't end on vagina. Don't worry.
Rizzler. Let's go.
Why?
I'll do
I'm
Rizzler.
not just
Okay, there you go. People are there's more enthusiasm here.
I want it to be over.
No, what I was
Let's just
talking about Riz on like the second episode of the podcast, and everyone was like hating me for it. So what's going on here?
I completely forgot about the ending on
I
something.
don't-
Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. 1, 2, 3, Rizzler.
Rizzler makes me want a Twizzler.
Nice.
strawberry one. Very well.
Yeah, of course.
That's
Didn't
the only
answer my
flavor.
question.
Excellent.